In the bosom of one of those spacious coves which indent the eastern shore of the Hudson, at the broad expansion of the river denominated by the ancient Dutch navigators the Tappan Zee, and where they always prudently shortened sail, and implored the protection of St. Nicholas when they crossed, there lies a small market town, or rural port, which by some is called Greensburg, but which is more generally and properly known by the name of Tarrytown. If ever I should wish for a retreat, whither I might steal from the world and its distractions, and dream quietly away the remnant of a troubled life, I know of none more promising than this little valley. From the listless repose of the place and the peculiar character of its inhabitants, who are descendants from the original Dutch settlers, the sequestered glen has long been known by the name of Sleepy Hollow. A drowsy, dreamy influence seems to hang over the land, and to pervade the very atmosphere. Some say that the place was bewitched by a high German doctor during the early days of the settlement. Others, that an old Indian chief, the prophet or wizard of his tribe, held his powwows there before the country was discovered by Master Hendrik Hudson. Certain it is, the place still continues under the sway of some witching power that holds a spell over the minds of the good people, causing them to walk in a continual revelry. The dominant spirit, however, that haunts this enchanted region, and seems to be commander-in-chief of all the powers of the air, is the apparition of a figure on horseback without a head. It is said by some to be the ghost of a Hessian trooper, whose head had been carried away by a cannonball in some nameless battle during the Revolutionary War, and who was ever and anon seen by the country folk, hurrying along in the gloom of the night as if on the wings of the wind. His haunts are not confined to the valley, but extend at times to the adjacent roads, and especially to the vicinity of a church at no great distance. Indeed, certain of the most authentic historians of those parts, who have been careful in collecting and collating the floating facts concerning the spectre, allege that the body of the trooper, having been buried in the churchyard, the ghost rides forth to the scene of battle in nightly quest of his head, and that the rushing speed with which he sometimes passes along the hollow, like a midnight blast, is owing to his being belated and in a hurry to get back to the churchyard before daybreak. Such is the general purport of this legendary superstition, which has furnished materials for many a wild story in that region of shadows, and the spectre is known at all the country firesides by the name of the Headless Horseman of Sleepy Hollow. The sequestered situation of this church seems always to have made it a favorite haunt of troubled spirits. It stands in a knoll surrounded by locust trees and lofty elms, from among which its decent whitewashed walls shine modestly forth, like Christian purity beaming through the shades of retirement. A gentle slope descends from it to a silver sheet of water bordered by high trees, between which peeps may be caught at the blue hills of the Hudson. On one side of the church extends a wide, woody dell, along which raves a large brook among broken rocks and trunks of fallen trees. Over a deep black part of the stream, not far from the church, was formerly thrown a wooden bridge. The road that led to it and the bridge itself were thickly shaded by overhanging trees, which cast a gloom about it even in the daytime, but occasioned a fearful darkness at night. Such was one of the favorite haunts of the Headless Horseman, and the place where he was most frequently encountered. Okay guys, so I'm going to voice over the rest of this for you the best I can. So after we left the Sleepy Hollow Cemetery, we wandered over the bridge into, I believe is this Nyack, I believe, New York. We found this little used bookshop that unfortunately, sadly, was not open. So that was a bust. But yeah, I don't know why he left all his books out in the rain. But across the street, we found this cute little bakery. They had a whole deli menu and coffee and pastries, and they had some really good tiramisu and cookies, and I got a chai latte that was really good. Then we went to the Washington Irving house in Irvington, New York. It's called Washington Irving Sunnyside. He is the author of Sleepy Hollow, but fun fact, he did not write Sleepy Hollow here at this house in New York. He actually wrote Sleepy Hollow, which we learned over in England. So this is his house right along the Hudson River. I'm trying to remember facts about it, but I can't for sure. The railway does run right next to his house, which is an unfortunate. I mean, it's been there since the railroad was invented. They ran tracks through his backyard, which sucks. It also is a very odd looking house when you really look at it. It's oddly shaped. So this, if you look at the hill there that I just panned by, that's actually a berm. That's man-made. This was all flat. Washington Irving had that hill put in manually put in next to his house. See, I unfortunately could not take video of the inside of the house, but you know, it's actually really tiny inside. The rooms were small. There's the train. It was a lot smaller than I thought it would be. So this, I don't know what I'm doing. Panning around the side of the house. 1656, I believe it says. So this like marsh area here that I'm like wiggling around with, right, that I'm showing you. So this all at one point was the Hudson River. That was all moved for the train to be put in. So this, after that, we went to actually before we went to Sunnyside, we went to Lyndhurst Estate, which is literally like a mile or two down the road. We actually went to Sunnyside and then came back, but I'm putting it all together because it made more sense this way. Anyway, so this is Lyndhurst Estate. This estate has actually been used quite a lot in film and television. The Blacklist it was used in. This was the filming location for 2 of the Dark Shadows movies, not the original first Dark Shadows, but like a couple of the spin-offs. I forget what else. I had a list somewhere that it was used in. One of my favorite docu-series, The Men Who Built America, was actually filmed here, which is funny because the last owner of the estate, Jay Gould, he was a railroad tycoon, actually is depicted in that series. So that was interesting tidbit of information. So this house is, what do they call it? Gothic Revival, I believe. The house I'm currently pointing at, that's kind of like in the right-hand side of the screen, is, I believe, the laundry house. And I think they were having a wedding that weekend, so it was used for, I guess, the wedding party or something. They turned it into, like, rooms. We're just walking around. The yard, it's massive. I forget how many acres they said it was. It was actually, the cemetery was bigger, but this was still quite a lot of acreage. And they had a beautiful view of the river. Here's coming back underneath the, it's not a portcullis, that's what I wanted to call it, but that's not what it is. They're huge windows. They still have I love that they have real, like, actual shutters. A lot of houses now you see have, like, those fake shutters that are, like, bolted to the outside of the house. But these are still real shutters. This huge open porch. I think this was added after the fact. I don't know when. But it's just... It looks kind of weird with the house, to be honest. But I love the old huge windows. They also had, for Halloween, they had this like Halloween walk that you could wander through for pictures and stuff. It was such a it was a horrible day to be doing this, but it's the day this is when we had planned. I had tickets for everything, and this is kind of like, it was either come or just lose out on your money. So Lyndhurst, unfortunately, I did not have tickets for access to the inside. They didn't have any left available, and we couldn't get a time to fit us in, but it was still beautiful property to walk around in the outside. They had some cool, like, things in the yard to look at. Okay, so then we walked all the way down the hill in the pouring rain to this building. This is, believe it or not, a bowling alley on the property. Why it is so detached and so far away from the main estate, I have no idea. It seems like a bit of a trek to walk down for a game of bowling, but, you know, who knows. So this building was actually used in the show The Blacklist, a show I've never watched, but that's what I read. So if it's familiar to you, it's at Lyndhurst Estate in New York. But it looks so... You can tell how old it is. It's not an automatic, like, automated thing. There must have had to have been a person, I assume, standing down here where these cushions are to roll the ball back, because otherwise, I don't know how you would do it. But it was just so cool. There was a docent that was sitting like at the end of it, so I felt really kind of weird, awkward, like filming around it. But it was a relatively small building. There's a second floor. We didn't get to see the second floor, but this room here looks like it was where like the women would sit and hang out. Madam C.J. Walker apparently spent quite a bit of time here with the lady of the house. So yeah, this was actually a really cool and interesting building. It was actually, usually it's part of a tour package, which I didn't get. I just got grounds passes for us to walk around. But thankfully this day, they did have the bowling alley open for public. So we were able to walk in there and check it out. Yeah, it's a beautiful, I would love to walk around this estate. People were like jogging, coming in and hanging out. And if it wasn't pouring down rain, it would have been a beautiful thing to walk through. So our last stop was the greenhouses, which was actually really eerie to look at because these are clearly no longer in use, at least not entirely. And it's just like a skeleton of what it used to be. It was a little eerie because this was like really far out from like the rest of the estate. It was almost toward the entrance. And there's like, if you look all the way to the left, there's like these brick buildings that it looked really weird the way it was kind of like structured. It almost has like a haunted feel to it, but I could imagine like there was historic placards around that were kind of give you an idea of what it looked like back in the day. But yeah, so that was our trip to Tarrytown, Sleepy Hollow, Lyndhurst, all the different places. We just went for a single day. It was about a 2-hour ride, hour and a half actually. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye!